Hey everybody, how's it going? And welcome to a very special edition of the Red-Headed Beer Guy podcast. We've got a special guest with us today. On top of being a whole different style of podcast right now, with everything that's going on in the world, we've got a very special guest, Gill Nadeau from Uncorked Tours, NB. Very happy to have you on.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
That's great. So yeah, definitely to the major elephant in the room, we're doing a podcast using Zoom, which is it's my first podcast using this program. Have you used it before?
I've been using it a little bit to hang out with friends and family and trying to stay on top of business, but I'm pretty new to it as well.
That's it. And it's I don't know. We're getting used to this new normal right now. It's what it is. We got to use this program now, and it's just to get used to this. I don't know. It's weird. I'm struggling with it. So it's definitely different. So talk to me a bit.
Us together.
Yeah, that's what it is, right? I was talking about that in my last podcast. Like the amount of social media presence that's been happening with local breweries is absolutely ridiculous. Like people are connecting. I'm chatting with people I would normally not chat with. Like exactly like this is what's going on right now. And for me as a podcaster, this is pretty amazing. Like, this is great. It's great content. It's amidst the crisis that we're in right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think everybody is feeling that. I think we're at the point now where people are starting to get a little stir crazy.
Yes.
So yeah, it's definitely a whole new world that we're living in for the foreseeable future anyway.
That's it. And I think that the quicker that we can adjust and adapt to this new normal, the better it will get, and we'll get through it one day at a time. And one day we will return to somewhat of a normal. I don't believe that we'll ever be back to where we were before, but we'll adapt, I guess. So
we have to.
We've got no choice. It's the only thing to do.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about Uncorked Tours, because from what I've seen so far on social media, that's all I've seen, and I'm thinking that I'm missing out a lot of stuff. So share with my audience, and this will be broadcasted to millions and millions of people. And we want to know what Uncorked Tour NB is all about.
Beautiful. Yeah. So I started Uncorked Tours back in 2013 when I moved here to St. John. So we're based in St John, New Brunswick, right on the Bay of Fundy.
Awesome.
And when I moved here, I saw that there was a really cool burgeoning food scene going on in the uptown area. St. John has a very compact area that has dozens and possibly even hundreds of restaurants and bars. And I also saw that there was some really interesting stuff going on with the craft beer industry. Of course, 2013 is 7 years ago. That's when we really started to see an explosion of craft beer.
Yeah, unreal.
And at that time, we also had a number of wineries that were producing wines here in the province. So Uncorked Tours was originally founded as a wine tour company.
Okay.
And I ran 25 tours our first year.
Wow.
And I think I must have burned through pretty much everybody who wanted to go on a winery tour.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. What a great success for our first year.
So it was really good, but I realized almost immediately in my second year that we needed to pivot, and we needed to pivot quickly. There wasn't enough demand for a winery tour company. So that's when we started offering our uptown walking tours and really driving more on the craft beer side.
That's cool. That's really, really awesome. And it goes to show like the ripple effect of the craft beer industry, and as well as craft cider. And there's more and more wineries, local wineries opening up, and what that ripple effect is, is creating something for you to make a business out of it, basically.
Well, exactly. I mean, my business is based on the success of other businesses that have to come before me.
That's it. And it's great for that. Like I find that amazing. And the same with me, like with the podcast would never be a success without all these breweries producing such great and wonderful beer and all that stuff. It's absolutely wonderful. So yeah, you've got some new stuff going on too with Uncorked Tours.
Uncorked Tours has some new stuff going on. So, I mean, I guess the big thing, of course, our business is entirely based around bringing people together.
Okay.
And that's not something that we can do anymore.
No, not right now.
So again, we've looked at pivoting and trying to figure out, how can we continue to meet people where they are, and where people are right now is online.
Yeah.
So we have launched a virtual tour program.
Which is absolutely amazing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and we do these on Instagram Lives. We take people right into the breweries, right into the cideries, and talk to the owners and the brewers and the makers. And people have been responding really well to that.
I can imagine.
We also have a project in the St. John City Market, which is a terrifying proposition right now with the unknown for the next 8 to 24 weeks.
It's gonna be pretty ridiculous. I don't know what the summer is gonna look like, if there's anything gonna be that will be going on at all.
Yeah, it's so hard to say right now, right?
Yeah.
Like,
have they set any projections at all? No, or they can't really. It's
no. I mean, our projections are going with what is probably close to a 0 revenue year, and just hoping that we have enough to see us through for our 2021 reservations to start coming in.
Yeah, for sure. Because
hopefully people will be able to gather again starting in June, but it might not be that early.
No, I'm seeing it go a little bit further than that. And like I've spoken to you in the past before, I've recently lost my job as well, working for a bar. Having a budget for business development right now is definitely not in the books. So I think we're all kind of suffering just a little bit with this whole ordeal.
Yeah, it's crazy, and so many people, I think, are being forced to really rethink their business models.
Absolutely.
And I think we're going to see some really creative things come out of this.
Yeah, I see. Looking at it positively, I think we're going to see a major positive change. We are going to hurt in the process, but I think we will come out of this on a very positive note.
Yeah. Well, and again, we have to. We have no choice.
It's the cards that we've been dealt, and that's what it is, right? And
it's interesting when you come from the tourism industry, because our planning cycle is always 18 months to 5 years out.
That's
so in the tourism industry, we're already planning that far out, and so even with the current downturn, there's some really big companies that are still having to look and sell for 3-4 years down the road. And,
definitely.
It's a really long view.
Very, very much. And like, this is going to be like me not being from the food industry and having spent 5 weeks in the food industry in my new job, definitely seen a difference in operating, how things are done. We had been planning months and months ahead, and just like you said, and it's really hard to recover. Like, what do you do now? It's it's weird. It's really weird. I think I need a beer.
Yeah, I would love a beer.
Yeah. How we've gotten this far without cracking one open is beyond me.
I was following your lead.
Yeah. So for the show, we decided to bring in a couple of beers. Oh, 1 beer and 1 cider. I'm not that knowledgeable in cider at all, so you'll probably school me on this one here quite a bit. I believe we should start with a cider. What do you think?
Sure.
Let's start with a cider.
Do it.
So I had done a review on. I looked back at my reviews and I did a review on Yip Trip before, and which was the one that we were supposed to get, but didn't have any in Marstow, didn't have any at down St. John either. So I picked up hop cider, their hop cider, this one here, and you got their original.
I got the original cider because I'm a sucker for a dry cider.
Oh yeah, see, like my first big cider experience was with Adam Clausen when we were there for the Beer Advocates at Red Rover, which was a insanely awesome cider tasting. That was really, really cool.
Yeah, Adam is so good, and Red Rover has really driven that idea of higher end craft ciders here in New Brunswick, and that was a wickedly generous tasting.
Very much, yeah. I think we're lagging here a little bit. I don't know if this is going to come out into the recording or not. I'm going to warn you right now, we're not professional, right? We're just having fun. Hopefully putting out some, my internet connection is unstable right now for some reason. But it will lag, and that's what it is. And people will get used to this level of content. One day we'll get things figured out. I'm cracking mine open. So I'm really struggling with my internet connection right now. Now is not the time.
Oh, no.
Are you lagging too?
Well, I will pour mine.
Oh yeah, me too. Either or, this can all be edited out. Mind you, it probably won't.
It's all good. I mean, we're in a new time right now, and raw content it's okay, right? I mean, if people want to listen to us, they can just go forward.
That's it. And I've always been really strong on raw content. I sometimes do edit out some stuff, especially when I do my audio only podcast, where you don't see my face, and when I'm taking those awkward silences, when I'm taking my drink, that would drive me bananas. Like, you're listening to me, and it just stops. Is there something wrong with the audio? And it was just really awkward, and I had to do something about it. So those were the things that I would cut out.
Yeah.
So Yip Cider, you would probably know a little bit more of them than I would. Where are they from?
Yeah, so
they're from.
That's Yip on the front of the can.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Yep. Is there a backstory to this?
Yep.
Yep.
No. So the story is they've had the orchard there on the Kingston Peninsula since the 1960s.
Wow.
And so it was Yip who purchased the land and had the orchard there. And then his son continued it.
Okay.
And then the three grandsons decided a few years ago that they wanted to come into the family business, but not solely as an apple business. They wanted to do a value-added product.
Okay.
And so one of the three boys went to a cider making course school in Europe. He came back, he brought back this very kind of dry style of cider making, which you see in some of our other cider folks in the province. And so the Yip Original was the first one that they put out.
Wow. Like this one here, the hop cider is absolutely wonderful. It is dry. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, and so the hopped one I think was the second one that came out, but almost together.
Okay.
And it's been hugely popular.
Yeah, which I'm not doubting it at all. They are a little bit higher in ABV than your typical beer. Usually they'll range around the 6%, and I don't know where your ideal spot for ABV in cider would be.
I mean, they seem to float, like you said, right around that 5.5 to 7.
Okay.
For these guys. I mean, this is 6 here on the original.
Yeah.
So cider does tend to be a little bit higher in alcohol.
Sure.
And I think part of that, and of course our cider makers would know this better than I, but I think part of that has to do with the yeast strains that they use to really kind of attenuate those drier ciders. So if the yeast eats all the sugar, then it's made a bit more alcohol. And I think that's what's going on with some of these drier ciders. Yeah,
it's definitely really, really amazing. I'm a fan right now of Yip Cider from their Yip trip. That one there was really good. Definitely refreshing and a summer drink for sure.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And there's such a great kind of family business, family story.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're following these guys on social media at all, they've been posting all of their winter pruning photos.
Yes, I have been following them quite a bit, and they're really active on there and very family oriented.
Yeah. Oh, it's so much fun. We were able to go down for a canning party one time.
Oh, nice.
So I will warn you, and I will warn all your listeners that if you go to a cider party anywhere, remember that cider packs a stronger punch than beer. Yeah, for sure. I found that out very quickly before the Fredericton Craft Beer Festival, which was I don't know what he was thinking, having such a huge tasting right before we go out and binge a whole bunch more alcohol. After a beer lunch. But on top of that, we had beer at lunch, and then we had that big tasting, and then we had the beer fest afterwards. Well, maybe they assumed that we were all professionals.
Yeah. Well, we've got experience in that category. The tolerance comes with it, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's another thing that's been going on in New Brunswick that's really intense. It's really interesting too. It's Drink and Be, which has been put on by Adam Clausen from Red Rover, who I don't know how his logistics work for that, but he's delivering beer for, I don't know how many brewers, and breweries are jumping on as they're going forward. And right now he's delivering in the Fredericton area and the St. John area as well.
Yes, I
just
saw
opened
that
up in St.
announcement.
John. Yeah, which is great. It's wonderful. I'm hoping he comes up towards Bathurst. I know it's a smaller market up here up north, but I don't think the only home delivery in the north right now is through Brasserie de la Côte and 13 Barrels, which is our next guest on the show, is doing home deliveries as well.
Yeah, the Drink and Be thing I think is a really, really interesting option. For anybody living in those two major markets of Fredericton and St. John. Sure. And I know that they do have a line on a staging area for Moncton. So Moncton might be coming soon.
That's very cool.
Which would be really, really great. I mean, it's always harder, to get up to you guys in Bathurst.
I know.
It's killer. Difficult. I wish we could just send the beer through the internet, right?
Yeah, because there's like I said with my last podcast with all the activity that's going on social media right now, I'm getting to see a whole lot more on my news feed. I'm seeing more posts from breweries that I haven't tasted yet. And yet I didn't really even know that they were on the map. Like Gridiron Brewing. I knew they were there, but they weren't on my news feed as often as I would like for them to be. And now they're popping up like crazy. And of course I want to try their beer, but they're a drive down.
Yeah.
It's hard to get to. So maybe if you guys are listening, ship some up here. I'll give you my address.
Yeah.
We'll figure something out.
There is armored courier available, right? So you can
yeah, we'll figure something
all around.
We'll figure something out. But yeah, definitely for Drink and Be to have that delivery service and having the price point, right? They're selling it at I'm sure it's at the same price as the shelf price of AMBL.
I'm pretty sure it's the shelf price, and then the delivery fee is super reasonable, right?
Yeah, I don't know if
you basically pay that markup, that convenience in what is a very reasonable delivery fee, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if they're offering a free minimum, like a free delivery for a minimum order or something like that, but either or, it's.
Yeah, I don't remember. I know there were. Yeah, there were breaking points or
sure.
What have you.
And we're seeing like these all these different changes, like interprovincial shipping for beer, which is unheard of, never seen before, and now it's happening. And I don't know what to do with myself. There's so much available, and I want to get my hands on everything that's out there, and it's unreal. And I'm hoping. I know the breweries are struggling, but I'm really hoping that having these new markets open can somewhat balance, help a little bit. I know right now it's all the licensees, all the bars are shut down, but in Nova Scotia, now they're allowed to do takeout beer with food.
Sealed beer, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But I don't know are they able to use say us over at Bootlegger, you'd fill a growler and sell the growler with it. I don't know if they're allowed to do that no matter any kind of container, or they're just doing cans and bottles.
Yeah, I don't know about that, because at O Bootlegger as a bar,
we do have a kitchen in the back.
We have a kitchen.
Yep.
But as a bar before, you never would have been able to fill a growler.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. And
there are a lot of things we couldn't do on January 1st of 2020 that are suddenly available. So.
I know, it's unreal. It's just ridiculous, and it needs to be done. We need to be able to do those things to basically to survive, right? And right now the breweries aren't kegging nothing. It's all going into cans, so you got to move that can.
You got to move the can, and it's harder to move flats of cans than it is to move kegs.
Absolutely.
It's more costly for the brewers right now to fulfill those customers. You
And
know,
then,
I think we're going to see a few that really, really struggle through this over the next couple of months.
yes,
And I think we're going to see a few that do very, very well in pivoting to create that online atmosphere and that online environment so that people want to order their beer.
that's it. And if this can keep on going in the future after this crisis, that would be such a great move for the government to allow them to do that. You know, to
Yeah.
keep that market space open. I believe it would work in the favor of everybody. But for the small breweries, it's definitely going to be hard to survive through this thing. It's going to be tough, but you know, I think that most New Brunswickers are stepping up to support just about every local producer as much as they possibly can. So I'm hoping that everybody can come out of this, you know,
Yeah,
alive.
absolutely. I mean, there will be something once we come out the other side. So, you
Oh
know,
yeah,
what do we want to have there on the other side?
that's it. That's it. And I always said that, you know, like natural selection, especially with the amount of breweries that are in the province right now, or in the country. You know, there's been so many breweries popping up, and I know like AMBL had put out some regulations, not accepting new products to try to tone it down a little bit. But I always thought to myself that, you know, with natural selection, the bad ones would eventually just die off on
I
their
mean,
own.
the market will decide,
Yes,
right?
that's it. And
And
the
sorry, go
quality
ahead.
of the product has been just up and up and up and up. I'm taking in this. I'm taking advantage of this situation big time, and just those who can up their quality can up their quality, and if you can't keep up with it, well, that's the sad truth of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a quality thing for sure,
Yep.
but it's not enough to make great beer anymore either,
No,
right?
no,
So
not at
like you
all.
were talking about, I mean, these guys, and we've seen it, they're upping their social game, they're
Yep.
connecting with their customers, they're getting past the, well, I've got to sell my beer. Yeah, you've got to sell your beer,
Yep.
but people need to care about you
I
first,
know. I know.
right?
It's
And so
really
to see the you know, the leaders in this space kind of start to change their conversation and the way they talk to their fans and their customers,
yep.
I think that's really interesting, and I think
The
that will probably be telling what this is going to look like in the next 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, I know it's gonna be crazy. I hope the hell that it doesn't last 12 to 18 months. Oh my god, I gotta go back to work before that. For fuck's sakes, it's
Look, we're working right now. This is
yeah,
work.
yeah, yes, but yeah, I suppose I've been getting paid in beer, so I was really great, really lucky to get Sean from Moosehead to drop off a pretty nice Porsche bomb
I
yesterday.
saw that. Yeah,
Oh
you
yeah,
were lucky.
very, very lucky. So he's a very convincing salesperson, and yeah, he had been trying to get the beers on the show for a while, and so he dropped off a nice little care package, and I'm definitely excited about the rose hibiscus saison. I don't know if did you have it before?
Yeah, so I just tried it
Okay,
last week.
awesome,
Connor is our rep down here, and so he was bugging me to
cool,
try it, and
cool.
it's pretty good. I like
Yeah.
it.
Oh, that's great.
I'm not a fan of fruity beers, so I was a little bit worried that it was going to be more on the fruity side because
Yep.
sometimes people take that rose hibiscus and they go, "Oh, fruit," and it's not.
No, no. I would like to see
So it
the saison style really shine through in this one here.
yeah, absolutely. It really had that kind of biscuity malt
Cool.
backbone to it as well. So
Cool.
I think you'll enjoy
Oh,
it.
I'm really excited about it. So let's move on to the next one.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
took out so we went kind of a north and south. I'm getting a ding on my computer for some reason. We're still recording, so we're still good. I don't know if we have a time limit for meetings of 2 or if it's for more, but we'll see. If it does cut out, it cuts out, and that's what it is. That's the nature of live podcasts. We're still getting used to it. So
Yeah.
the next one, we did a north and south type of deal, and we went with 13 barrels for the beer for the show today. So this one here is definitely a favorite of mine. It's been in my glass so many. I got a 13 barrel glass somewhere here.
Do you? I was looking through and I realized I didn't have a Yip glass or a 13 Barrels glass. I feel woefully underprepared for this podcast.
I'm not any more prepared, but I should use one from one of the supporters of the show. We'll use Jim Lyon. She's a major supporter of the show. I really enjoy having like the support for the podcast has been really great, and it's Jim Lyon's great bunch of people.
They're fabulous. I mean, I've done work with them for a number of different events. I mean, the St. John Wine Fair, the Port Beer Run. Of course, everything is canceled this year, but check us out 2021.
That'll be the new hashtag. Check us out in 2021.
Yeah, the guys at Gym Line have been so supportive, obviously of the brewing industry, but of the restaurant industry as well. And they're a small family business. Just like most of our businesses here on the East Coast. I know. It's definitely, I haven't met Jeff yet, but he sent me up some bunch of glasses in the past, and definitely awesome to have friends and the connections that's being made through the podcast is really amazing. And through the beer advocacy program too, getting all kinds of new connections like the one we have right now, and meeting other fans and other beer geeks and cider geeks and everything else in between. So definitely in 2021, I'll be down in St. John to check out the space of the market. I'm really excited about that. I would love to see you before 2021.
Yeah, I'm trying to be realistic, and hopefully I'll surprise myself. So I'm saying 2021 for just about everything. I'll see my family next year, and we'll deal with it next year. Definitely very difficult for my mom and my little my daughter, 13 months old. She's struggling big time. FaceTime is just not enough.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But very difficult. I became a stay-at-home dad overnight. So that's been something I can't wait to go back to work.
I hear a lot of moms on mat leave say the exact same thing.
Yeah, so, my wife was saying
you're in a crowded boat.
Oh, hell yeah. My wife was saying the same thing when she was just about done her mat leave, and she's part of the essential workers, so she can go out and get her work done, and I'll stay at home and try to survive this storm, but definitely anxious to get back to work. So this one here from 13 Barrels, their Tall Tales IPA, was part of the core lineup that they launched when they first opened up, which I named it as the Patagonia. They do have some similar notes in taste, the Patagonia Pale Ale, but the Papineau Pale Ale from 13 Barrels, this one here was kind of deemed as their big brother. It's some more powerful, more orange notes. It's got a nice bitterness to it, dark copper color, and it drinks very, very well for an IPA.
It's tasty.
Very tasty. The bitterness is definitely there, especially after drinking a dry cider, and it does linger on, but I really, really enjoy a nice lingering bitterness, and this one here is right down my alley. When they first opened up, I was definitely happy to have this type of beer about 6 minutes from my house. So
6 minutes?
Yeah, very, very close. As Bathurst it's a small town, but I do live just outside of the downtown area, and I'm really lucky to have. So like Four Rivers is 4 minutes away, 13 Barrels is just next door, so I'm really well situated.
That's awesome. We actually were up in Bathurst last summer.
It's true.
My first time up that way since I was about 2 years old.
Wow. It's about time you come back. It's definitely changed.
I know. And honestly, in the business that I'm in, I was starting to feel really quite guilty because the brewers up there were saying things, and the tourism people were saying, why aren't you coming up? I mean,
it's a struggle. It's a struggle.
Just keep an eye on. I mean, I should be up there. I should be. Right?
Definitely. I didn't know you were Brayon.
I am, yeah.
Oh, jeez. Okay, so I'm really excited to see the virtual tour with Brasseur de Petit.
I know.
Really excited about that.
I don't think he knows yet. So.
No? Oh my God! I think you would have gotten a bigger case of beer if you knew that.
Yeah. I like to keep it on the down low, right?
That's it. Keep it for later on.
But we had an amazing time up
awesome.
your way, and and visited 13 Barrels and visited Four Rivers and visited
Awesome.
Fils du Roi.
Oh, nice. That's
Yeah,
such a fun place to go visit, Fils du Roi. He
it's.
knows his stuff.
I mean, I'm actually a spirit person. I mean, if I were to drink anything, it would probably be a fine spirit with maybe a little bit of soda, and that would be it.
Okay.
So I loved visiting Fils du Roi and just seeing his setup there. I mean, the hundreds of whiskey barrels.
I know. It's unreal.
You guys are set for life up there as long as like he doesn't have to convert the barrels into sanitizer.
That's what he did.
The barrels? No.
Not the barrels, but all the production.
Yeah, but not the barrels.
No. Don't touch the barrels. Don't touch the barrels. But yeah, what an amazing, like, the amount of knowledge in that guy is absolutely unreal. His mom is just that knowledgeable as well. And,
oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Like, she gave us a tour when we went there, and like just their attitude, their characters, it just adds to the ambiance there. It's just like what she had us do, like rub the whiskey in your hands and smell it this way, smell it that way there, and in the glass, how to smell the alcohol and how to do this and how to taste it. Definitely out of my comfort zone big time, but getting to learn so many things and the different aromas, and just was so great, and much more appreciation for what they do after my tour there.
Well, and it's the same as, when you introduce people to craft beer for the first time, right?
Absolutely.
Like they have no idea that there are different flavors and aromas and colors, right? So, when you get to go into those distilleries for the first time, I mean, it's absolutely mind-blowing.
Oh, for sure.
How cool the liquor industry can be when you're looking at those small artisan products.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's crazy, and it's the same thing with beer. When I meet someone who's a macro beer drinker, and they say I don't like craft beer. Well, just hold on, you haven't had the proper beer yet.
Yeah.
So, and I do have a program of steps to take, and I do have my beers. I do like to gateway people into this industry, and it usually works every time. And one of them that are very early on in the steps that kind of just rubs them the right way is the Bantam from the Bantam Pale Ale from Long Bay, which is such a great entry-level pale ale.
It really is. Like, it doesn't have any of that kind of drying bitterness. It's full flavored. It doesn't have a super long finish. It's an easy drinking one.
For sure.
Yeah, the Bantam is really good.
Yeah, they're very, very good, and I've been a fan of it for a long time. And definitely once I started off talking with people, either I'll start them off with the Bantam or with the Cheval d'Or from Grim Ross.
Oh yeah.
Or I'll go with the Classique from Brasserie La Côte. Just something simple, just a step above a Pilsner, something like that, and then you work your way from there. And God knows they might be hopping onto a very West Coast style IPA further along. But that taste develops. The hop taste, your taste buds do develop to it. You get used to it, and next thing you know, you're really craving that bitter bite.
Yeah, well, it's all about training your palate, right?
That's it.
It's like going from the triple at Tim Hortons to the black coffee. It takes time.
You'll get there. I've done it. I went from double to black. It took me a long time. Yeah. All the way down to half a sugar and half a milk. The steps I was taking. But I got there.
I'm sure you would never go back now, right?
No.
Or would you?
No, absolutely not. Well, actually, my wife started buying this creamer here, Bliss vanilla creamer, and I can't go back to just drinking the black coffee.
Oh no!
I know. I'm screwed.
You're ruined.
I know. And I'll try to drink it black, and I can't. I gotta have a little bit of vanilla in there. I feel so bad. I feel so stupid. But
that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, it's very difficult. But once you start drinking black coffee, once you get used to it, but it's so easy to forget it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and it's funny. I mean, IPAs in general would not be my most preferred style because they have kind of just gone so far out there in terms of really high IBUs, right? Like 100 plus IBUs where you're really just trying to mess with your brain and
Yeah, well, that can go both ways with the IBUs. And I find now with the way they're made, either using like the malts and the hops they're using, the IBUs, they're not. I can't rely on them as much because there's one in particular from Vox Populi in Quebec.
Mhm.
It's 100 IBU, 8% IPA, 8% ABV, and it's a fruit bomb.
It's a fruit
Pineapple.
bomb. Sweet almost, right?
Yeah. It's there's no bitterness whatsoever. My taste buds weren't getting the bitterness at all, but still at 100 IBU, I would be expecting a hell of a bite. Some kind of pine resin just to bite me in the back of the throat. But no, it wasn't there.
Yeah, it's I think it's exactly what you're saying. It's the malts, it's the hops, it's these new like really crazy like melon hops as well.
Yep.
Like there are all these like really new ones that on paper they give you those alpha acids that are going to give you that bitterness, but in flavor, that's not actually what happens.
No,
so it's almost like, again, not a brewer, but it's almost like the calculation needs to be reworked to
for sure.
take into account this new stuff that's going on in beer.
It's really weird, and obviously, like you said, the IPAs have been blown out of proportion. I can't lie. I do enjoy the IPAs. They're among my favorite styles, and any beer geek out there, I think IPAs are pretty well what gets the beer geeks going. But they've been blown out of proportions with like milkshake IPAs, and the fruit bombs have been just too fruity. It's fun to have a bite at the end. The New England IPAs are just going a little bit too much on the juicy side for my part anyway.
Yeah, I've always been one to kind of try and look for balance. So if it's something that's really, really hoppy for the sake of being really hoppy, then it's probably not a beer that I'm going to gravitate towards as much. And the same with kind of the juicy IPAs. If it's really, really juicy just to be juicy and doesn't have that balance,
which is like drinking a glass of Tropicana.
Then I'm probably not going to gravitate towards that either. I'm really enjoying this one. I did not try this when we were up. We did the Pano Pale Ale on our flight.
Okay.
But because my husband and I are both kind of more on the kind of bitters, dark beers, pilsners, reds, and less on the IPAs.
Okay.
For the most part, all of our flights really avoided the IPAs unless the brewer was there to say, like, no, you have to try it.
You have to try it. No, this one here is such a great one. The little notes of orange really tame down the bitterness, and it's not. It's not too much of a piney resin on the back end. It's there, but it just makes you thirsty for another drink. It's very well balanced, and I'm not surprised that it won the silver medal in this year's Down East Brewing Awards.
Oh, is that what they took?
Yeah.
Nice.
This one here, and first place was Ruckus from Long Bay, which is like Ruckus.
Your two favorites.
Yeah, pretty well. Yeah, Ruckus is absolutely wonderful. It's a very high ABV IPA. It's 7%. It kind of borders a line of a New England style IPA because it is a bit juicy, but such a great beer. It's absolutely wonderful. Like they're doing,
I would agree.
They're doing great work. Their chalice at the Bootlegger is such a great seller. It's unreal.
It's the chalice I find is such an interesting beer. It's obviously a Belgian style. It's definitely got that kind of, yeasty, clovey, banana-y, all those words that people say. But I find, again, the chalice has done such a great job at being a balanced beer.
Yeah, for sure.
That Belgian style is not off-putting, where for a lot of new drinkers, when they taste that the first time, it's so confusing to them.
Yes, that's it. It's not too out of this world, and it's a great tasting beer. It's been a favorite of mine for a long time. Long Bay is. I'm always excited to see something new come out of their brewery. It's such great stuff, and there's so many great brewers in New Brunswick. Like Cavoquet has been putting out some really good stuff lately too, and there's so much to look forward to, and we won't forget to mention Trailway. They're amazing.
I love the guys at Trailway.
They're amazing IPAs they're putting out. It's absolutely amazing. It's great stuff, and I'm really looking forward to all kinds of new stuff coming out.
Yeah, it's a really interesting time for brewers, right? I mean, I
Yep.
think a lot of them were kind of looking at their plans, and they dropped down production thinking that,
Yep.
you know, sales were really going to drop. And for a lot of the kind of medium and larger brewers, that hasn't happened. Their sales have actually gone up, and they've kind of been forced to go back
That's
and
crazy. That's
ramp
crazy.
up production and try and catch up. So I mean, Trailway is one of those guys, right? Like
Yep.
they thought, you know, we'll pull back, and
Yep.
now
No, it's been crazy. I
have
think
to
that the
do
people
it,
are really
so.
taking advantage of the home delivery, and with so many people being at home all the time, there's two types of people. There's liars and day drinkers, and that's it. There's a little bit more day drinking happening, and which is, you know, we gotta deal with what's going on right now, and beer is definitely a essential service, for me anyway. I got to get through it somehow.
I mean, I would argue it's essential for sure. But of course, I've always been a day drinker, so.
Me too. It's I gave up night drinking, you know, maybe 5-6 years ago. It's after you hit a certain point in time in your life, you can't stay up very later past 9 o'clock. It's
I am absolutely with you, albeit 500 kilometers away, but still with you on that one. So
yeah, it's difficult. I don't know how people do it, staying up late at night. You know, my wife is the same thing. It's day drinking 100% of the time. It just makes more sense. At night you get tired, and I can't stay up late anymore. I'll do it once a month. That's it.
Well, I mean, it's a funny industry to be in, right? I mean, it's funny to be in an industry where it's not necessarily looked down upon to have a beer at 9 a.m.
No.
Granted, if I'm having a beer at 9 a.m, it's like 3 ounces, but
or like a breakfast stout. It's okay.
Or a breakfast stout, then I'll do the full pint, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really interesting industry to be in on the tourism side as well, right? Because at Uncorked Tours, we're always trying to encourage people to have a good time, but encourage them to do it in a responsible way. And so responsible doesn't mean you can't have a drink until 5 o'clock because that's what you were told.
Yeah,
responsible means know how you feel, know where you're at, know how much you ate today.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
and
there are lots of times that people should not be having a drink at 6 p.m. because they've, you know, been on an empty stomach. And so, you know, it's a really interesting industry to try and talk to people and say, like, hey, there are safe and responsible ways that you can consume alcohol when you want to on your schedule, right? You don't need to necessarily listen to what other people are saying on their schedule. But it's a strange conversation to have. People have strong views on alcohol, of course. And on food.
Which makes sense. Views. Yeah, which makes sense. You know, I mean, like, craft beer is still a relatively new, like having tap rooms open up at 11 o'clock in the morning. It's still new, very new, but there's still people walking in. You're still grabbing a flight. It's okay. It's just fine. And, you know, I think speaking to a little bit more of my in-laws, you know, if you look into back in the days of everybody was a macro beer drinker, you wouldn't have one of those at 10 o'clock in the morning unless you're an alcoholic. You would be deemed an alcoholic.
Right. You needed it.
That's it, right? So it's definitely changing the tasting of it. You know, it's, I don't know how to say it in English, but degustation has changed around it.
Yeah, so like the way we drink.
That's it, right? You know, it's been, I don't know, I'm enjoying it.
I mean, I'm enjoying the options. I'm enjoying the variability. Yep. I mean, I'm enjoying the move from I'm going to get 24 beer because that's the cheapest beer to I'm going to get these 4 because these are the 4 that I want to drink tonight.
That's it. And you're really enjoying them 100% of the way. And you're taking your time with them. And it's not, it's not a marathon.
Yeah.
You know, it's a whole different view on the whole thing. And people need to, for whom hasn't been introduced in the craft beer world, does need to try it out and see the difference between this and macro beers for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, and ask your friend who drinks craft beer, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would never encourage anyone who has not tried wine before or who has not tried craft beer before to just go in and start buying things, right? Like,
Yeah,
ask your
you
friends.
need to
All the
be.
beer nerds want to tell you about their favorite
Yeah,
beers.
absolutely, absolutely. And like, if you are a beer nerd, listen to your friends. If they're asking you questions, listen to what they're saying. Listen to what they like. You know, listen to what they like and then you can find out what you correlate those items, those taste buds that they like, and mash them up with a beer that you've tasted before, and you'll definitely find a beer that they're gonna like.
Oh, absolutely. There are
Yeah,
tens of thousands of styles of beer.
for sure. And a lot of people do say that, when you see a stout, oh my god, that's gotta be strong beer. It's dark, it's gotta be strong. If I don't start somebody off with a bantam, I'll go with a dry stout.
Yeah.
So easy to drink.
Yeah.
Low ABV. Easy. It's like drinking a coffee. It's the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember I used to do, well, and still do, but I used to do a lot of corporate tastings where people would generally be traveling business people and macro beer drinkers and that sort of thing. And I remember one time we had the Dark and Stormy Night, DSN from Picaroons on our lineup, which, I mean, is one of my absolute favorite beers. It's been on their lineup for over 10 years. Yep. It's one of my favorites. That nice dark wheat
it's
beer.
Great.
Yep. It's amazing. Looks dark, tastes light.
I know.
And that was my sales pitch to hundreds of people who had never tried anything other than like a Coors Light, right?
Holy jeez,
it would just turn people instantly, right? Because you're looking at this dark beer, you're scared. I understand.
Yep.
But it tastes so light.
It's great.
And,
it's
it's
I think that one there is. It's a dunkel, right? If I'm not mistaken.
It's a dunkel. Yeah. It's a dunkel-ish.
Yeah, dunkel wheat beer. It's in that line. But I always had the obviously I had the Dark and Stormy Night, but I would have the one from Erdinger.
Yeah, so I mean that's an amazing beer. I love the Erdinger Dunkel. You can just stop the podcast now. I mean, I love it.
Yeah, it's such a great beer. I've had it many times as an import here. I would love to taste it where it originally comes from, right there and then. Obviously, with the transportation, it does affect the taste of the beer. But still, if over here it tastes that great, from the brewery must be amazing.
And actually, the Erdinger alcohol-free is a good beer too.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
I don't venture that much into alcohol-free.
Well, I mean, why would you?
Yeah, I'll have a glass of water instead. It's iffy. It's an iffy situation, like the alcohol-free, because there is a movement happening right now. There's alcohol-free gin. There's alcohol-free vodka. And all the other stuff in the beer the beer movement is really moving along as well. I don't know. I think
it depends on, again, why are you drinking the beer?
Yeah.
Right? So people drink for lots of different reasons. We all know this.
Yep.
Some people drink beer because they legitimately like the flavor. You and I like the flavor. We want to drink beer. Maybe we want to, feel a little something, but
who doesn't?
For the flavor.
Yeah.
And there are so many people now as we move towards a more health conscious kind of green, in some cases more sober reality going forward. There are a lot of people that want to keep drinking, but they want to, insert a non-alcoholic option in between their beers.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a lot of that.
If I don't know where the price point would be on that for non-alcoholic beers.
It's the same.
See, that's where my issue is. That's where I draw the line. Why?
Yeah, but I mean, you're gonna buy a mocktail for $11 at a bar.
That's it. That's where I stop. I can't get past it. It's. I mean, if there's a market for it, there's a market for it. But personally, I would not. I don't. Who knows? People might pay for it. I can't. wrap my head. If you give me an option that's zero alcohol, half the price, yeah, I'll take one every now and then during my night. I'll space them out and just enjoy it and just behave in a more responsible manner. But if it's the same price, it's a hard selling point. You're really looking into a niche market who really wants to pay for the craft of the drink and the taste. But there's a missing point. And alcohol-free does taste the mouthfeel is so different.
It's not the same at all.
No.
I'm just saying it's not a terrible one.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. Of course it's good. And, we want to see it evolve because there is obviously there's a market for it. But it's for me, it's
I feel like not to stay on this too long, but I feel like Fils du Roi put out an alcohol-free beer last year. Is that true?
We did a big launch. I was there. Which all the tasting notes were there, but the mouthfeel, that's what the different part is. So I enjoyed it. Like we did the whole launch and all that, but it's really it plays with your mind because you're drinking a liquid that tastes like beer.
Yeah.
Everything is there, other than the mouthfeel, and you're drinking it, and your mind is expected to usually get a feeling from it, but you're not. So it's really like as a often beer drinker, it's really weird. It's really weird. Really weird. It's like a placebo effect.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what happened to me that night where I drank that beer all day and I was feeling something, but it was nothing.
Yeah.
Like it's 0.1 or 0.2% alcohol.
Yeah.
You think, because it's checking off all the boxes, but it's that last box.
And it's super funny that you bring that up because that's what we see at a lot of our private tasting parties as well. So we do in-home tastings or in-office tastings where I bring the wine or the beer to you.
That's cool. That's really cool.
It's a ton of fun, but I don't bring you that much alcohol. I mean, I know how much I bring you, and it's the equivalent of about 2 glasses of wine or 2 12-ounce bottles of beer. That's how much you drink with me over 2 hours. And at the end of it, people are giggling. They're yelling, they're throwing themselves across the room, they're spilling their drinks.
Oh my god.
And it's that exact
are your calculations right?
No. Yes, my calculations are right. Sometimes they have something before I get to them.
See, yeah.
But to your point, I think on a tasting in particular, when you have people really thinking about what they're drinking and really thinking about what's happening and having a good time with their friends, it brings down their inhibitions even more.
For sure.
And it's on top of the small amount of alcohol. And so people have this amazing time. They think that they're, 3.5 sheets to the wind, when really they're only a sheet and a half. But they have no idea. They love it anyway.
That's it. It's great. It's I don't know. It's weird. Like the placebo effect from that alcohol-free beer was just, I don't know. I never experienced it before, and it's weird. It's really different. But then again, it's a hard curve to pass on to a consumer that consumes alcohol for the same price. It's definitely difficult, and at the same time, it takes so much more work to get a beer to go down to no alcohol.
Right, especially if you want it to taste good, right? It's one thing to brew a high gravity and then backwater.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, lots of breweries can do that, and that's where you have that mouthfeel issue that you're talking about, right?
That's it.
So to try and get your mash to go, get your ferment to start, and then stop it right away while getting everything you need out of it is very difficult. Yeah.
Very difficult to make. And I don't know, it's we'll see where the market goes with this. I wish all those producers all the best. And
see, and for me, I find I'm not so much looking for alcohol-free beers, but come like June to September, I am always looking for low alcohol craft beers, right?
Which are really up on the rise right now.
Absolutely. I was so excited. I'd say probably 3 years ago, I started to see some more kind of macro, small, like low ABVs come out. That's what I think is when Cracked Canoe came out from Moosehead.
Yes.
And that kind of really led the charge, I think.
Sure.
And then like La Classique came out from Brasserie de la Côte, and we had a couple other locals that came out with something in that kind of 2.5 to 3%.
If they can come out with more grisettes, something around the 3.5, 4%, you know, we do need more of those.
Because honestly, I mean, we only have 8 weeks of summer in this part of the world. And those 8 weeks, granted, I'm working every day of them, but if I weren't working every day of them, I would be laying on a beach or in a kayak or hiking on the side of a mountain. And I think we're super fortunate here in Canada, in Eastern Canada, to have these wild places. And light beers are so essential for me to be able to enjoy those spaces safely. Yes, absolutely. I don't want to drink an 8% beer on the side of a cliff next to the ocean. I mean, it's not what I want.
No, it's definitely not what you want. You want to remember what you were doing. And you want to get home at some point during the day. But definitely there's a need for sessionable beers. Anywhere from the 2.9 to the, I'd say 3.8 to 4% mark.
Yeah. And it sounds low, but honestly, if you're there from 10 in the morning until 6, 7, 8 at night, you're going to put back.
If you're doing a marathon, for sure.
But you're going to put back a lot. So.
Yes, for sure, yeah. 6.
Yeah, exactly. 6.
Yeah. But yeah, for sure. Those are definitely beers that we need to see more in the market. And, it's as far as low ABV beers, one I would say my favorite would be a grisette. It's just something like that's such a powerful flavor in it, and it's great. It's complex, and I'm not that much of a fan of a session IPA. It's like an alcohol-free beer. It's got those notes that you expect in an IPA, but none of the body. There's something missing in there, and it's that's why I look forward for a beer that's meant to have low alcohol in it, and that's the style. It's true to the style, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and they're out there, right?
Yeah, for sure.
This idea of high alcohol beers is only post-industrial revolution, right? Yeah. I mean, prior to that, everybody drank 3% beer because that's what you had. That's
it. Like now they're coming out with just doubles and triples, triple IPAs. It scares off some people.
It can be scary for sure.
Yeah. Definitely. Like some people are getting very for people who are getting into the craft beer market, it can be rough for them, to get this one here, and you need to have a responsible server when you're serving those high alcohol beers,
Yeah. Well, and I think to that point, it's important that not only your servers are responsible, but that has to come, from the establishment owner, right? You need to put maybe some rules around, this is a 10%, 11% barley wine. Maybe we will only serve 12 ounces or 9 ounces at a time. And we're going to make sure that a patron can only have 2 of these because you know what happens.
Yeah, for sure. If for someone who's not used to having, a 10% beer, if you get someone that's coming in who's just, you're drinking Coors Light at home and you're thinking, 10%, let's pound back a couple of these 16 ounces. Yeah. Sorry, bud. You're gonna be licking the floor.
Yeah, exactly. 1, 2, 3 floor. Exactly.
That's it. It's very difficult, and it turns people off. The whole meaning of that beer was not created to be slammed back. It's meant to be shared between friends. And sometimes when you see them in huge bottles and 750 ml bottles, they're meant to be shared with your friends. Around a meal. Don't sit down and drink a Russian Imperial Stout 750 ml bottle by yourself.
No, preferably with friends with a very heavy Russian meal.
Yes, for sure. take your time with it and really enjoy the taste and all the notes and the complexity of the beer. You know, it's not a crushable beer per se.
Yeah. No, and it's funny. I mean, we see that pretty regularly. So I deal not just with beer and cider, but obviously with wine and cocktails and spirits, and we go right across the alcohol industry.
Yeah.
And so when we take beer drinkers to a wine tasting, that's the first thing that you see, right? Yeah. You see beer drinkers drinking their wine, tasting their wine like they would with their beer. And usually I can catch them, but occasionally I don't.
See, I would be guilty of that. I would be guilty of that big time. Drinking wine, I don't know how to. Don't know. I mean,
I saw you at the cider tasting, so I would keep an eye on you.
Yeah, definitely. But I did leave a glass full. One glass was behind. Yeah.
Yeah. So you only drank one bottle of wine before the beer fest.
That's it. At the beer fest, I had to tell the brewers to just keep it on the down low. No, don't put too much, because obviously
very generous.
Oh my God! When you show up with that VIP glass, they really want to fill it up.
Oh well, yeah, it's better for the photos.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, it kills me, and this is probably a good message for some of your listeners. Like, it kills me the amount of beer I dump out at these shows.
I know, it's crazy, festivals. And I hate dumping out beer.
I would never dump beer. I mean, my husband can attest to it. I lose my shit when he leaves half beers at the end of the night lying around.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely unacceptable.
But it is okay at these big shows where you want to try dozens of beer.
Yes.
To dump.
Yes,
right?
For sure. It's okay.
They're not going to listen to you when you ask for one or two fingers. I mean, I asked and they laughed. But it's okay to dump your beer, right? Again, back to the idea of good, responsible drinking, which is what Uncorked Tours is always about.
And most importantly, do not pre-drink when you're going to a beer fest.
Leave that to the professionals.
Yeah. We've seen some casualties in the bathrooms.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny. I mean, I love those shows, and I think I was telling you earlier today, I mean, I think that show in particular, I maybe only tried a dozen beers, because at this point, after so many years of attending these shows, you almost don't even drink anymore. Like, no,
this year was my first year there.
Oh, yay!
So I'm really, really excited to go back again.
Yeah.
And so happy that it happened the time that it did and not 2 weeks later.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, the Fredericton Craft Beer Festival has really, it's been a show that others have looked to, right? To see how to grow, how to engage with your audience and all those good things.
No, Lloyd and the whole committee has really put on like such a great show, and really happy to be there this year. So
yeah, it was a good time.
For sure.
A good time.
For sure.
I don't know when we'll ever go to another beer show again, but
next year.
Next year.
2021.
2021.
I'll be there. So I think I'm running out of time right now.
Okay.
We've passed the 40-minute mark big time. I think we're running close to an hour, which is great.
So we're good.
We're good. The podcast went absolutely wonderful. This is great. You go through an hour. You can easily get 2 hours when you got two people talking together. It's not difficult to get that much material.
I know, it's funny. I've been reaching out to all these folks for our virtual tours, right? And people they're anxious, or they don't want to go live, or it's going to take too long, or what if I say the wrong thing? And I'm just like, it's okay. Like, it's not that long. 30 minutes, we will blast through it, and you'll be emailing me all the things you wanted to say.
Yeah, for sure. It's that's what it is. You know, it goes by so fast. You're just having a casual conversation with somebody, and you just got to get used to talking to a camera. Yeah, and talking to a camera,
and not the person you're talking to.
The screen is there, and you're looking at the camera, and you're looking at the screen, and it's really hard. But the viewers will enjoy the audio of it.
Yeah.
So on that note,
there was a way to just like paste my eyeballs at the camera.
Yeah, that's it. Just look here. When I was setting up my camera this morning, I didn't think for a second that I'd be looking at the camera here, but I gotta look there. It's confusing. It's confusing. Sorry to all the viewers out there. So on that note, I want to say a very big thank you to everybody who has gotten to this point here in the show and have listened to us talk and chat. And I don't think that this will be the last of collaborations between me and Uncorked Tours. And I think we'll be doing a few more podcasts in the future. So hang tight, stay safe, stay inside, and listen to the healthcare professionals. I know that I've been boring everybody off with this stuff here, but do listen to them. We don't know what we're talking about. They do. So on that note, cheers, and thank you very much to Uncorked Tours for joining me on the show. Cheers to that. I'm all done my beer. I'm on the cider again.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.